Mark Twain says, "The man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who can't read them." I'm saying, today we're book launching. You need readers. We don't need to put them in the shelf to gather dust. We need to learn. AI is powerful early in engineering, enhancing efficiency, accuracy, creativity by automating routine tasks and providing data-driven insights. It frees engineers to focus on innovation and tackling complex challenges. So with those words, I say thank you and I welcome you all.
That we are privileged to have one of our own, Professor Arthur Mutambara, who is familiar with the terrain, who has studied the subject of engineering, intensively looking at the modern technologies taking place, currently actively engaged in research on AI, and active at the University of Johannesburg. He has written a number of books, 8 books if I may to be specific, all very relevant. Not only does he delve into the subject substantially from an angle of a researcher, but he looks at various case studies of countries, developing countries, developed countries, and specific situations that are vital to us. I'm pleased to introduce to you Professor Mutambara to respond to all that. Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming. We are talking about artificial intelligence. And my mandate, my charge is to say, why don't we use this technology as a driver of inclusive development, as a driver of shared prosperity for the global south? Why write this book? Why do we care? There's so much talk about AI. You saw last week, Trump was in the Middle East, AI, investments in AI. You saw there was a European Global AI Summit, the executive orders on AI. But there's not enough conversation in terms of how we can use it as Africans to improve the quality of life of our people. How we can use this technology to drive inclusive development and shared prosperity. There's a gap that I'm trying to close. We cannot wait for Silicon Valley, for China, for Europe to tell us and show us how to use AI to solve energy poverty, to solve matters of access to high quality education. We have to do it ourselves. The African, those in the global south must have agents. We must make AI work for ourselves. That's the motivation behind this book. We talk about global south. What do we mean by global south? It refers to a socio-economic concept rather than a geographical location. These are what we call emerging and least industrialized countries. Also pejoratively known as developing world. We don't like that one because it's very presumptuous. It assumes that we are not developed, but we might be developed in our own way. So in the literature, people are moving away from underdevelopment, development, third world. We're moving away from that language and preferring the notion of global south, where we're talking about emerging and least industrialized countries. Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia, excluding Israel, Japan, and South Korea, Oceania, excluding Australia and New Zealand. That's what we mean by global south. But guess what? We have 8 billion people in the world. 6.6 billion people are in the global south. So when we say global south, we're talking about the global majority. So when we address the issues of the global south, we're addressing the issues of the world. So when we say, how can we use AI as a driver of inclusive development and shared prosperity for the global south? We are ostensibly saying, how do we use AI to improve the quality of life of the majority of the people in the world? A people with a shared history, similar features, challenges around the economy, the environment, high levels of poverty, inequality, unemployment. Let us use this technology. So Africa plus the African diaspora is what we call global Africa. And that's 2.2 billion people. Massive economies of scale. If we are clear in our minds that we're together with the African diaspora, and the global north that's running the world is only 1.4 billion people. The world is being run by 1.4 billion people, and we are saying, yes, that's okay, but we want to improve the quality of life of our people. Those are the numbers. That is the framework in terms of numbers. When you look at GDP per capita, you find that the top 10 countries in the world, there's no one in the global south in there. Luxembourg, Ireland, Norway, these are the people who are doing well in terms of GDP per capita. Look at number America. They're the biggest economy in the world, but they're very low in terms of per capita. What it means is the Americans have not used AI to bring about inclusive development or shared prosperity. Their prosperity is not shared. So we're not inspired by America. Yes, we're going to learn technology from them, but we're going to do it differently and make sure our technology is empowering more people. Because we want to think that America being the biggest country in terms of GDP, where AI is running amok, they should be high in terms of per capita income. No, they're not. Norway has better inclusive development. Norway has better shared prosperity. That's what we mean. We want to make sure we have shared prosperity. Look at the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is a measure of the disparities between the haves and the have-nots. Measure from 0% to 100%. Look at South Africa, again our biggest economy on the continent, but it is the most unequal country. Yeah? So which means, although the economics are looking well in South Africa, they have work to do to get a better Gini coefficient, 67%, the most unequal country in the world. So when we say inclusive development, we are saying South Africa is not our best economy, America is not our best economy because their prosperity is not shared. We want shared prosperity. One would argue, but these countries are very, different, they're very heterogeneous. Look at China, India, South Africa, Rwanda, Bangladesh, Malawi. How can you group them together? It doesn't make sense. It does. What we're saying is, yes, there are different levels of development, but they also have a common history. Why can't we learn from Singapore as Zimbabwe? Why can't we learn from China as Malawi, as Ghana? China was able to move 800 million people out of poverty in 40 years. 800 million people out of poverty in 40 years. What did they do? Can't we learn one or two things from them? In 1960, the GDP of Singapore, Ghana, and Rhodesia were comparable. Today, Singapore is a superstar economy. Zimbabwe is in trouble. Ghana is in... What happened? What did Lee Kuan Yew do in 30 years in Singapore to make it what it is today? Again, the rationale, the philosophy of studying these countries together is about learning from each other. The Chinese are doing a lot of work in AI, India the same. Why can't we learn from India about how to adopt AI in Zimbabwe, in Botswana? That is the rationale behind studying these countries in one block, to unlock lessons. Rwanda is doing much better than South Africa in terms of AI vision, AI strategy. Why doesn't South Africa learn from Rwanda? Why doesn't Botswana learn from Kenya? That is the rationale behind that. Okay? So, in the book, we are concerned about the global south, but we're also Africans, so we are very concerned about Africa as part of the global south. Now, Africa, you know, we must also remember our strengths. As we embrace AI, we're not coming from the bottom. We have some strengths, we have some advantages. Land mass, raw materials, human capital. You know, Professor Zinochwe, this is the map that the colonizers gave us. It's very flawed. How can 5,900 kilometers be shorter than 7,400? The way the colonizer represent us on the maps is very unfair. We're not bigger than that scala. But that's how they want you to think, oh, you're still too small. Guess what? All these countries can fit Africa, the United States, China, India, in terms of mass, land mass. What we're emphasizing is that yes, we have challenges, yes, we have problems, but as we do so, we want to make sure that we also know that we have strengths, land mass, minerals. We are starting from a point of stress. We have challenges, yes, we have problems, but as we do so, we want to make sure that we also know that we have strengths, land mass, minerals. We are starting from a point of strength where our land mass is the biggest in the world, where our minerals, look at that, every mineral you can think of we have, our vast natural resource base, our huge raw material base. Why don't we use AI to unlock value from our minerals, to unlock value from our huge natural resource base? That's what we're trying to do in this book, to say, yes, we have strengths, land, minerals, but can't we use technology to make sense of this? We talk about that in the book. We also introduce this whole thing, artificial intelligence. What is it? It is about the development, the deployment of computer systems or machines that can perform tasks requiring human-like intelligence. Human-like intelligence, such as learning, such as problem solving, such as decision making. Once you do this, you got AI. Some system, a computer system, a machine that manifests human-like intelligence, like learning, like problem solving, like decision making. That's all. That's all. Artificial intelligence. That's all. By way of definition. Taxonomy of AI. The most basic type of AI is what we call single task AI. An AI to do just one thing. Just one thing. You give it a go, it does it. That's all. That's the most basic type of AI. Single task AI. Then we move a stage further. We have agentic AI. Now it's getting more complicated. The system operates autonomously, makes decisions, and pursues goals. It's called agency. It's called agentic AI. That is the next layer in terms of artificial intelligence. It gets better. Generative AI. Now, this one you must be familiar with, all of you, because of ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok 3, DeepSeek R1. You are using Meta AI, you're using ChatGPT. It's called generative AI. This is an AI that creates new knowledge, AI that creates new text, AI that creates new pictures, new videos. That's why in the last 2-3 years, there's been so much excitement around ChatGPT, because it can create text, it can create pictures. And these are the examples. Now, DeepSeek R1 is a good one for us in the global south. But the Chinese were able to do that with less money, less energy, also open source. So that's why when DeepSeek came through, it rattled the markets. because they proven that no, you guys are spending too much money on these LLMs, large language models. You guys are spending too much energy. We can do with less. So the message to the global south from China is that you can do it. We've done DeepSeek R1. It's a Chinese version, which is as good as ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok 3, and Meta AI, and so on. It gets more complicated. Artificial general intelligence. Now, what we're saying is, rather than just do one thing, why can't you have multiple capabilities in the same machine? Just like you play soccer, you read, you walk. It requires intelligence. If we can have in the same machine various abilities, various capabilities, various types of intelligence, that's what's called artificial general intelligence. We don't have that yet. It's a work in progress. I'll show you some robots. You find they do one thing. They're single task, or they're agentic, or they're generative. We are working on artificial general intelligence, where the machine will have as many capabilities just like you, Madam, Mr. Human Being. Not yet achieved, but work in progress. It gets more interesting. Super intelligence. Now, Scala, we're saying we are going to build a machine which is smarter than the smartest human being. Smarter than Einstein, smarter than Newton, smarter than Elon Musk. Not yet done, we're getting there. Now the challenge is when we do that, what does it mean? And by the way, in artificial intelligence, once we have one smart agent, getting 1 million is trivial. Replication, when you have 1 little smart kid, it takes another 30 years for you to get another Einstein. Or in AI, once we get one, we get 1 million. Now, here's the challenge. If we have 1 billion super intelligent agents, 1 billion of them, who's going to control them? How can you control 1 billion super intelligence with your average intelligence? I know you have a cat at home. You keep the cat, you look after the dog, you look after the donkey, but you're smarter than the dog. You're smarter than the cat. So when we have 1 billion super intelligent agents, who is going to look after who? Who is going to keep who? We are not there yet. I'm just outlining the possibilities so that we can start thinking about these things. Super intelligent. That